So when we went down to the sun and we watched the sun cycles, but they're very fast cycles. They lasted a couple of 2 or 3 days most. And we went around and we said, you could set it up as a calendar day of stress factors across your calendar. So real time plan. This is really time planning. They're learning the transits. You could see what's going on. You see the timings in our life, in anyone's life. But it takes time to calculate them, to look at them, to relate to them, to see how they relate. And then we looked at the transits of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, the outer planets, the big ones that move slowly and cause the bigger challenges or crises in our life, and tend to disrupt the Saturn and challenge how secure or stable or responsible we are. But we did each of these separately. And I did each of these separately for a reason, because when you pile them all together, you tend to get confused and run them into each other and not see clearly. When you see each one separately, you see how it works. You begin to see when each planet's going around is touching. So when you're thinking, you're always thinking each planet's going around separately, one planet at a time. It's enough. And you take the time to do one, then the next one. But now we have so many, we have the 10 planets, and we're watching 4 aspects, which usually a planet goes forward, backwards, and forwards. There's 3, so there's 40. So there's like about 100 aspects, major aspects in a lifetime. There's big thing, and that's almost too much to figure out, too much to get some perspectives to. There's always something going on in this symphony of life. And so this is where we are. We can see the timing. We watch what Saturn did to itself. We watch Saturn to the sun. We watch Saturn to the angles. These are the 3 main cycles, the main core of the cycles. Then we saw how Saturn affected the moon and Mercury and Venus and Mars and Jupiter, and we saw the extra things that could be added on to that. But because we have so much information, we have to cut it back. There's too much. Like when we're doing the aspects, there's really 360 degrees of aspects, 360 different aspects, but we narrow them down to the major aspects: 1/2 of a circle, 1/3 of a circle, 1/4 of a circle, 1/6 of a circle, and those are our sextiles, our squares, our trines, and our oppositions. And those are the main aspects between planets. There's always a relationship between any planet and each other planet. There's always a relationship with each degree of the zodiac and every point in your chart. It's just we're narrowing down which ones stand out, which ones are most noticeable, which ones are most critical. So by seeing the transit, by watching each planet, when we're watching the planet go around, well, with a natal chart, you're living with that natal chart your whole life. So we allowed 7-degree orbs for aspects and if it was the sun or moon, we allowed 10-degree orbs. There's just some things in that phase that will affect our whole life. But when we get to timings, it's the same planets relating to each other, but they're doing so for a period of time at a certain age in our life. And we narrowed down how many aspects. Instead of having these huge big phases, we narrowed down to critical times of 1 degree orb. Instead of 7 or 10 degrees, we narrowed it down to looking at 1 degree orb for the critical aspects, for the major crises times. And we went through them all, and we saw how these work. So you have a good sense of what astrology does, and that it does on each of these levels now. What you don't have is the ability to if 3 or 4 things are happening at once, it's hard to sift through which is more important than the other, and how you're going to live through it, and what you're going to advise through that. So there's still a layer to learn on top of this. There's a way of organizing the transits and seeing it so you can put in perspective what's real, what's most prominent, what's important, and develop a priority of how to deal with time, how to prioritize, and how to see the perspective of how much influence or importance to give each aspect. It's something that grows and develops the more charts you do, and the more you watch people. Really, as you're watching your own chart, and as the years go by, you'll see Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto make an aspect to some personal element in your chart. And as it does, you get challenged. Even knowing these things, it's a big challenge. This is going on, oh geez, and you're relating to it, and you have to live through that for a year or two. And once you've done that and survived a Pluto oppose your moon, or Uranus square your Venus, or every experience you've had while knowing astrology and consciously watching it and living through it, it becomes yours. So once you've lived through it, you can clearly advise other people based on your own experience and how you got through it, for better or worse. So, but still, there's a lot of, it's hard to keep track of all the transits. Even doing each one at a time, you're getting so much information. You have all these different cycles. You want to put them all together, but if you put them all together, it's just too much information. And when you get the computer printouts from computer prints that list the transits for the year, they tell you the dates that all the transits happen on, but they don't tell you this one lasts for 2 hours and this one lasts for 4 months. You don't, the printouts don't give you, they can, but it's a much more complicated printout. So it's really important to know the natal chart and to have a sense of the person's character, and at least to be able to work each planet to see how each planet works in a person's chart and how it works in their life, before you see how the timings come up and challenge that planet or that function in one's life. So really, as we're seeing the timings, we get to see the timing and we see, oh, this planet's transiting and going to hit the moon or hit Venus. Then you have to, once you see, okay, that's the aspect, you can see when it happens and what's happening. That's just, you can read the clock. Then you got to see how that person's going to experience it. How critical is, what changes, what's being hit. So if it's a person's Mars that's being hit, everybody's got Mars, but it's in different signs and different houses. Everybody's Mars works in a different way. Still the same energy, but it's used differently with different priorities, different emphasis, different attitudes, different circumstances, different stress factors. And as something comes up to hit that planet, it's going to affect all the things of how it works in that chart, which is going to be very different than anyone else's Mars. Even with twins. When twins are born 15 seconds apart, they've almost, for all extensive purposes, the same chart. But twins divide the chart. The aggressive one takes the aggressive principles. The strong one takes the sun and the Mars. And the weaker one takes the moon and Venus. And the aggressive one does everything and forces things, and the weaker one understands things. So across the lifetime between the twins, one is the aggressor, one becomes the more understanding one. Sometimes these roles reverse, but generally they settle in. And sometimes the more understanding one becomes the dominant one because the aggressive one can't do anything without the understanding of the other one. So twins, even with twins, their planets will be emphasized slightly differently, even though it's the same chart. But that's mostly because of the law of the strong. Okay, so what we have to do at this level, we have to organize our material so we can see it in a quick way. And be able to, when we're working with someone's chart, we can begin to integrate all these levels of factor, all these factors in our chart. So there's, okay, this is the first sample. We got our aspects, we got our pattern, we got our total points, and we have all the points to go through. But this is, we've organized everything in a way that it would look, we did each planet like in these lines, in these waves going down like that, squares. Instead of circles or sine curves, we did it like this with conjunction squares and oppositions. But we have to organize it in a different way. Well, you don't have to, but if you want to be good and you want to coordinate and integrate these things, it's necessary. So this is what this level is, how to organize this material and be prepared to do someone's consultation, have valid things to say for a person. So this is the first chart, and I'll be sending you download links to download these charts. When you get this, you're going to make sure you have a couple of backup copies, and you're going to print out different copies of it. And they're made to be working with on a printed sheet, but most of the work I did, I took them, I put them in Photoshop, and I did the work inside Photoshop to add the other layers and things to it. But in the start, you see the signs, you have your horoscope in the center, but there's no planets or anything in it yet. Then there's 3 circles, and each of these circles is here to represent one of the Saturn cycles, up to 30, up to 40, up to 30, up to 29, 30, up to 58 to 60, up to 90 or 88. So these are the 3 cycles of Saturn in a lifetime. And we're going to put them around the circle so we see them, we can see if they happen once, when they 30 years later, how they happen. We can see the dates for them happening at different times in life, the same aspect. Simple thing, incredibly useful. And I have to teach you how to calculate, and he has to calculate these, how to draw these in, how to use them. This is the mechanic. There's two graphs we have to do to organize everybody to do a natal interpretation. So we're going to have to, this class, I got to show you how to do it. And then you're going to have to do these each week. And I said, I'm going to give you a chart to work on for next week. And you're supposed to take the time to do these. So you figure it out and it becomes second nature to you. I've hand drawn, I don't know how many thousands of these before I put them on computer and do them. But these are, it's important to develop your astrological understanding, cut through to see all the aspects and to link them in to see, whoa, here's a dial, here's a time wheel I can use. Okay, so we start, we have our, this is Saturn to Saturn. We've done it. We've done all the aspects of Saturn to Saturn, conjunction squares. We put the 3 dates where it conjuncted, went retrograde back over, came over it again. We have the 3 periods, and sometimes it's just once, sometimes it's twice, but we have these dates set up, and we've written in the chart what happened to us at these times. So when you're doing someone's chart, you're going to have, we're going to do this. We don't have to exactly, I did for the first 4,000 or 5,000 charts, maybe more. I did these, I hand draw all these out, the Saturn to Saturn, Saturn to the Sun, and Saturn to the angles before any chart. I did it and I wrote down, I tried to put the history to it as best I can to see where they are. But what we've got to do is we're going to put it on the wheel. So instead of seeing the sequence in time going one after the other, we're going to see it going around the circle. So on this chart, on the inner wheel, I put Saturn in. My Saturn's in Leo. This is my chart for sample. My Saturn's at 7 Leo. So I put Saturn in, and then I take a ruler and I draw a line going across. I leave some spaces here so I can put the dates in. But I draw the lines out to this area and out the other half of the chart. So I have 7 degrees Aquarius and 7 degrees Leo marked in. And then I put the 7 degrees Taurus and 7 degrees Scorpio. I draw these lines in just as they are here. They don't go into the center part of the chart. They're just going into the outside. And then we have to go through it from the conjunction. I went up to the square and I put the three dates. I had to squeeze them in here of when Saturn squared my Saturn. December 53, January 54, March to April 54, September to October 54. So I put them in there. Then I put the opposition. I put the 3 dates for the opposition. March 62, July, August 62, November, December 62. So I'm anchoring in when the aspects happen. And I put the square in, the waning square, the next square, July, August 69, March, April 70. And then when it comes back to the conjunction, I jump up to the next circle. It goes out to the next circle. So you see, it only hit once when I hit the Saturn return, July, August 76. That was my Saturn return. Then I went around on the outer cycle, and the square was just October, November, 83. I went along and hit the opposition again, 91, 92. It hit the opposition here. Then it went along, hit the square, April, May, 99. Then I went further. When I go back to the conjunction, I jump to the outer circle. There's 3. It's September 2005, January, February 2006, May to June 2006. So I have the date when I have the second Saturn return. Then the square at 13, then the opposition coming up in 2021 and 2028. So this is a lifetime of Saturn to itself for everyone. It's just main pattern put right on there.